Hello everyone, this demo we're going to be looking at how to mold in silicone. My son has some food allergies, specifically he's allergic to milk, and so we have to get vegan chocolate for him and vegan chocolate bunnies on Easter. So this is always like a big hassle. You can order them online, but you have to plan ahead and you have to pay a lot more, and they never have what you want. And so this year I'm gonna sculpt my own cross, my own chocolate cross, my own chocolate bunny. I'm gonna show you guys how to mold in silicone, and we can make our own out of vegan chocolate chips. Okay, so we can melt them at our own house. We can make the bunnies just the way we want to, and we'll have the tools necessary that we won't have to do anything special as far as ordering these in advance. You can make them the day of. It's not a huge deal. The only thing is maybe, once you have the silicone, you're good to go. The mold is good forever. But the other thing is, like, maybe the kids might see you making the Easter bunny. So that might be the only drawback to this. But if you have a kid with food allergies, or if you just want to learn how to make a silicone mold, an easy one-part mold, stay tuned. First, we're going to start with some oil-based clay. It's cheap, it's easy to work with, and it doesn't dry out. I'm going to design and sculpt my own chocolate bunny as well as my own chocolate cross, so this is the stage that we're at. You could easily buy one from the store that you like and mold it if you're not a very good sculptor. If that's the case, you can go ahead and skip straight to the part where we pour the mold in silicone. I'm starting with rough shapes here and just working out my proportions and trying to refine my design as I go along. It took me several attempts to try and figure out how I wanted to make the ears. I needed to make a one-part mold with 2 ears, and I needed to be careful that there were no undercuts. Silicone is a little more forgiving than other materials you might make a mold out of, but you still can't get carried away. Eventually I figured out what I wanted to do with the ears and the feet, and it started to come together pretty quickly after that. I'm using some different modeling tools here, but you could easily do all of this with your hands. Sorry, Mr. Bunny, it's going to be easier to articulate your toes if I rip your leg off first. One of the great things about oil-based clay is that I can leave it open and work on it for several days without having to worry about whether or not it's going to dry up. And there we go. Go and sin no more. Even though I made both ears as one big clump, I'm going to go ahead and try to distinguish them one from another with some optical illusions in the clay. A ceramics loop tool makes this super easy, but once again, you could do all of this with your hands. Now that we're done refining the shape and the proportions of the bunny, I can go ahead and add the texture. I'm just going to use my pinky nail. I'm not going to sculpt out every hair, I'm just going to suggest that the bunny has hair. Now it's time to build the form for the mold. I'm going to be using this foam core and some hot glue. One of the things I like to do whenever I'm creating the walls for my form is stagger the pieces so that I don't have to measure them. If you don't feel like you could do this, you could just dump the bunny down inside of an appropriately sized Tupperware. Today I'm going to be using some Smooth On EcoFlex There are tons of different options you could use, but this is what I have an abundance of. This silicone has a really fast pot life, so I don't recommend it for people who are not used to pouring silicone. A novice might want to try to use some Smooth On OOM0030 or something like that. The silicone I'm using is clear, so you can dye it with pigment. The OOM0030 comes in two colors that mix together, and it's easy to tell when you have it thoroughly mixed. What's more, you have about 20 or 30 minutes to get it mixed and poured. If you're using pigments like me, I recommend that you dye each side, both part A and B. That way you don't have to use up any of your pot life stirring in the dye. And I can take as long as I need, making sure that it has a really nice, pretty, even color with no marbling. Don't mix too fast or you get a lot of bubbles. In with part A, as you can see, I'm using a resealable lid in case I need to save any of this stuff. Now for part B. You want to make sure that you mix it very thoroughly without stirring it too fast, scraping the sides and the bottom as you go. Now we just dump it over our sculpture, careful to try and get every piece covered in silicone. We don't want any air bubbles or to lose any details in this piece. Once it's dry, it's ready to demold. Well, that's one way to lose weight.
Wow!
And there we have it. We now have a negative copy of our bunny so that we can pour chocolate in there. Cleanup is easy. Just let the silicone dry and then you can peel it all out. Now I will quickly sculpt a chocolate cross and go ahead and make a mold for that. You can use heat to soften or smooth your clay. Now I'm just going to apply some texture to make this piece more interesting. Now we're just going to repeat the process for the mold. I'm going to make this one a little more sophisticated, that way I do not have to use quite as much silicone. Every once in a while I have a glue gun stop up like this. I have to take and pry the glue stick out and use a different one. If anyone knows why this is happening, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to know how to avoid this. Also, the more silicone you use, the easier it'll be to get this cross to come out straight. Because I'm being economical, I'm going to have to make sure my silicone mold is straight before I pour chocolate. Now I'm going to use a little fire very quickly to melt away all of my hot glue strings without destroying my mold. Wow, great job! Now we're ready to melt some vegan chocolate chips in the microwave. It's best to put them in about 30 seconds at a time or so, and then take them out every so often to stir. It won't take long and it'll be ready to pour. You want to pour a little bit of chocolate in the mold, and then you can use your hand or some kind of tool to manipulate the chocolate and make sure it gets into all the details and all of the recesses of the mold. Once you're satisfied that you've got good coverage, you can go ahead and fill the rest of the mold with chocolate. You can then smooth out the back until you're satisfied. Then we're going to repeat the process for the bunny. There are more recesses and details that I'm going to have to make sure the chocolate gets into on this piece. You could also slap the bottom of the tray and various other techniques to get the chocolate to settle down in the mold.
you say ooh and lick the table again?
You can give it a good shaking to try and make the chocolate settle. It turns out that my table was not perfectly level, so the chocolate was piling up on one end and it was getting a little low in the other. I just took some napkins and propped up the end so that it would level out. We took our chocolate and put it in the freezer for a little while so that it would hurry up and cool off a little faster and turn more solid so that we could demold it. Once it turns solid, then you're ready to separate it from the mold. Just be careful so that you don't end up breaking your creation. There's a little dirty hand that just can't withstand the temptation. Here's the finished product. Not too bad. Custom chocolate bunny and cross. Plus, I can choose what goes in it so that I know there's no allergies. Alright, that's how you make a one-part mold out of silicone. How to make a chocolate bunny, a vegan chocolate bunny. I hope this helps someone. Until next time.